I've shared with you roughly half of my makes for 2024. Now for today's video, we need to get through the other half. So grab a drink, tell hubby or wifey to step to the side. You're about to spend some quality time with your favorite YouTube boo. Hey Stitchers, your girl Kris here. Welcome or welcome back to my channel on social, where it is totally cool to obsess with sewing. So we've already gone through the first 33 of my 72 makes for 2024. For today's video, we are going to deep dive into the remaining 39 makes. I think that's right, 39 makes left to go. Now, the first video was already quite lengthy, and I suspect this one will be a little lengthy as well. So grab yourself a glass of wine, a cup of tea, or a bottle of water, and let's get straight into it. So the next make I want to share with you is the Mood Clementine dress. Now the Clementine dress is a free pattern by Mood Fabrics, and it was actually the Sew Your View pattern for August. Now my girl Diana of 26 by Diana was the host for that month's Sew Your View, and so I had to get involved with this pattern. Thankfully, it was a pattern that I could get my hands on quite quickly and readily, and I sewed up this pattern using 3 different double gauze fabrics. Now, whilst I was sewing up this dress, I did make some on-the-fly modifications. I tried it first with the full-length skirt. I didn't like it. I ended up going for a second gathered tier for my skirt, and I like this option a little bit better. Now, overall, I like this dress. It's not my favorite, and I thought maybe I could have reworked the color blocking just a little bit, maybe move the colors around for a more pleasing look to the eye. But overall, it is a dress that I'm going to keep. It is going to get somewhere. It's just not my favorite. Now, the next dress is Simplicity 9141, and I made this dress using fabric that was gifted to me by my girl Kira of Island Socialist. Now, I had gone to Barbados. She lives in Barbados, and we were able to do a quick meetup, and my girl brought me gifts, you guys. And one of those gifts was this fabric. Now, I liked the fabric when I saw it, but I knew right off the bat that this one would be a little bit difficult to work with. It seemed to be loose weave because it was fraying right around the cut edges, and it was lightweight and shifty. So I went ahead and washed and starched my fabric before cutting into it. And even though that made it a little bit easier to work with, it was still a challenge. Now I decided to do some shirring on my 9141 instead of using the elastic casings that the instructions asked for. Now my smart ass thought that shirring would have been a better option because of how lightweight this fabric was. I did not want to have to sit down and sew all of the bias binding casings, but y'all, I was wrong. Well, I don't know if I was wrong because I haven't actually tried elastic casings, but that shirring almost took me out. I think I ended up with like 64 rows of shirring or something like that. Really, really ridiculous. But it needed to be that much because I needed the shirring to land right at the right spot for my waistline. And I did only do my shirring lines a 1/4 inch apart. Now, if I were to do this again, and I'm not thinking I'm going to do it again for 2025. I need a long break from this pattern and from the shirring. But if I were to do it again, then I definitely would probably increase the width of my shirring, maybe from a 1/4 inch to a 1/2 inch, and that would definitely cut down on the amount of shirring lines I have to sew. Now, shirring itself isn't difficult per se. Once you get the settings right, you can get through it quite easily, but it is just very tedious. And whew, I wanted to give up on this dress, you guys, because it was just taking way too long to sew that shirring. Thankfully, I was sewing it during the Olympics, so I did have a little bit of a distraction on whilst I was shirring. But this dress is definitely going to go down in 2024 as one of my most memorable makes, and it's not for a good reason, you guys. It is just because of that shirring. Now, after I had finished the dress and wore it, I loved it on my body. I do think I could have played with the strap placement just a little bit more, but overall, I really like this dress. It had some amazing twirl factor. But if you want to have more insight into the making of this dress and my thoughts on it, then check out this video right here. Moving swiftly along, let's talk about my Forget-Me-Not April dress. Now, the Forget-Me-Not April dress is a dress pattern that I have utilized in the past. I made it up once before in some amazing challis fabric I had gotten from LA Finch. And my husband ruined it, you guys. He washed it with some other laundry and my fabric ran or something ran on it. And so I was only ever able to wear that dress one time for photographs. Since I ruined that dress, I always intended to make another version of it. I just never got around to it. Now, fast forward to August of this year, my church was having emancipation celebrations, and we were encouraged to wear Ankara fabrics. Now, I am not a stranger to Ankara fabrics. I love Ankara fabrics and have quite a few pieces in my wardrobe, but I jumped at the opportunity to make up a new dress for church for Emancipation Sunday. And I went with the Forget Me Not April dress. I love this dress. I love it. I find the stylines of this dress to be oh so flattering on your girl. And even though I went with an Ankara fabric, it wasn't too stiff for that grown-on sleeve. Now, when you're working with a grown-on sleeve, you want to do something lightweight enough so that you don't get too much bunching and crumpling under the arm. Now, by virtue of a grown-on sleeve, you are going to get some folds right at the arm side. And I thought that this Ankara was a great choice for this dress. I did not get bulkiness at my arm side, but it was weighty enough to hold the sort of curvy shape of the waistline. Now, this dress has a curved drop waist and then it has a gathered tier onto that drop waist. And as I said, I absolutely love this dress. Love this dress. And I actually sewed up this dress on Saturday and wore it to church on Sunday. So I was really able to tuck into this project. And so, what else can I say? I love it. If you have not tried the Forget Me Not April dress, then perhaps you might want to consider checking it out for your 2025 sewing projects. Now, the next two makes I want to talk about together. I made up another hacked chalk and notch area top by leaving off the elastic at the waistline. So instead of having a bubble top, it's just a loose and floaty cropped top using this airflow fabric. Now, I've never worked with airflow fabric before, but I picked some up in Barbados and I'm really sorry I did not buy even more of it. Now, green was having a moment in my wardrobe this year, and so I picked it up in this gorgeous green fabric. And once I had made my area top, I had an offcut of fabric left over. And I figured maybe I could squeeze out a pair of shorts. And it just so happened that I was able to squeeze out another pair of by Gracie Steele Foxy Boxies. Now, I ended up with an unintentional lounge set because these two pieces work quite nicely for lounging around my home. Although, to be fair, I have worn my chalk and notch area blouse out and about. I wore it with another make that I made for 2024. I'm going to tell you about it in this video. I haven't gotten to that point yet, and I don't want to confuse myself, but I've also worn it to work with trousers. Listen, I have worn this top, you guys. I really have. I have worn it a lot for 2024. From home to the office to church, this top has been everywhere. I like these kinds of makes that are very versatile, and this hack definitely ticks that box. Now, as I said, I paired it with another by Gracie Steele Foxy Boxies. I've already told you everything you need to know about the Foxy Boxies, so just know I'm in love with my accidental lounge set. If you want more deets, you can head over to this video right here where I talk about both of these makes in greater detail. Now, the next make I want to talk about is actually a hack of McCall's 7920. Now, you have seen McCall 7920 in part 1 of this series, and that is because I made up the wrap dress in its original form. Now, for this hack, I decided to hack the wrap dress into a true wrap skirt, and I used some printed linen. Again, I picked it up in Barbados. And you guys, I love this skirt. I sewed it up live with my girl Rochelle. We were doing Beat the Clock here on YouTube. And we had, was it 2 hours or 3 hours to sew up a make? And I went for the Hacked McCall's 7920. Now, I was able to beat the clock in that I got most of my skirt sewn up during the time limit. I did want to go ahead and leave my skirt to hang before I hemmed it. So I got all of my skirt constructed except the hemline. Now I left it hanging for like 2 or 3 days, ended up having to level it off quite a bit, and then I was finally able to do the hem and then take photographs. But it paired so nicely with the area top that I was telling you about just moments ago, and it twirls nicely, it fits great, and I just love this wrap skirt. I'm really glad I decided to hack the McCall's 7920. Now I want to share two other makes with you together, and that's because I made another set. I made the Love Notions Bandcamp shirt using this most gorgeous fabric gifted to me by my girl Carol of Karosi Sews. I was participating in the Sew Precious Fabrics Challenge being hosted right here on YouTube and over on Instagram by Whitney of Tomcat Stitchery, and I decided to make up the newly released at the time Love Notions Bandcamp shirt. Now I decided to make the long sleeve version. I just thought it would be super cute and would give me an opportunity to roll up the sleeves if I wanted, and then I paired my Bandcamp shirt with some saguaro trousers, again by Friday Pattern Company. I really love these two pieces. I have worn them together for photographs, and I did play around quite a bit with the styling. Truth be told, if I were to wear these pieces together, I would probably wear them to give this faux jumpsuit kind of vibe, but I definitely have worn these pieces separately. The shirt much more than the trousers. I think I've worn the trousers maybe once or twice, but I have worn the shirt several times. Just paired with jeans. I have worn it with a pair of pink slacks to the office. So two other great makes for 2024. Again, I spilled all of the details here on the channel. You can run on over to this video right here and check out all of the details on both of those makes. Now, the next make I want to talk about is the Grainline Studio Archer Button-Up. Now, early on in my sewing journey, I fell in love with this shirt pattern, and I made it twice back to back. But then I did not touch the pattern for a couple of years. You know, there are new shiny patterns that come along. You want to try out this pattern, try out that pattern, and then some of our great patterns sort of get stashed away and we don't utilize them a lot. So that changed this year. I pulled back out the Grainline Archer button-down shirt and I actually filmed an in-depth sew along right here on my channel. Now, if you need any help at all sewing button-down shirts or any features from button-down shirts, then you might want to go ahead and check out these in-depth tutorials. I presented the sew along in 4 parts, and I really dove deep into shirt making. So we tackled the collar, we tackled the cuffs, we tackled the placket, we tackled the burrito method. So much information. I personally think it's quite valuable. Even if you have been sewing for a while, I'm pretty sure you can pick up some tips and tricks in that series. So go on right to this video right here and check out part 1. And then you can follow the playlist and check out all 4 parts of my Grainline Studio button-down shirt sew along. Now, my next make is also one of my favorite and most used makes of 2024. I decided to make the True Bias Marlowe sweater. And you guys, I love this sweater. I made it in a ribbed knit. It is a navy blue colorway, and it is just gorgeous, you guys. Now, I've made the True Bias Marlowe before. I have it hanging on the back of my work chair, the first iteration that is. And I wear that, or I have worn it almost every day since I've made it. Now, my office does tend to get quite chilly, and no matter what I have on, whether it matches or it doesn't match, once I'm in my office and I feel a little bit chilly, I reach for my Marlowe sweater. Now, I wanted another sweater to add to that rotation, and so I made up the Marlowe again because if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I love the first one so much, I figured I would love the second one just as much, and I was not wrong. In fact, I think I probably prefer the second version over the first version. I love this sweater. Since I have made it up, I think I made it up in probably September. And from September right down to December, I have worn the sweater almost every day of the week once I have been in my office. So well done to me for busting out another tried and true pattern, the True Bias Marlowe sweater. Now for my next make, we are shifting from something that keeps me warm when I'm cold to something that keeps me cool when I'm hot. I'm talking about the Edgewater Avenue Anthea swimsuit. Is it the Anthea or Athena? It might be the Athena swimsuit. Now, I ended up hacking this swimsuit pattern because I wanted to play around with some print mixing. So I created some style lines at the front of the swimsuit and went ahead and used 3 different black and white prints for my swimsuit. I had so much fun playing around with the print mixing for this swimsuit, and even though my finished swimsuit isn't really a wearable piece, it was a fun project and one that I think I leveled up a couple of my skills with. Now, I have made swimsuits in the past. The first time I made a swimsuit, I hated it. I then tried it again earlier this year and I shared both of those makes in part 1 of the series. And I wanted to give another go at another swimsuit pattern. And I chose the Athena swimsuit. Now, I really do prefer Edgewater Avenue's instructions over the instructions for the New Look pattern. I guess because Edgewater Avenue is an indie pattern, you get a little bit more hand holding. And even though I tend to typically ignore instructions, I definitely paid attention for the construction of the swimsuit just because I'm not really familiar with swimsuit construction. Now, as I said, I wore this swimsuit once before. We were having a slip and slide afternoon in my backyard, and I ended up having a couple of nip slips. So it's definitely not a practical swimsuit. It's one that I could probably wear if I was just lounging by the beach or in my backyard reading a book while my kids played with water or something like that. But overall, I'm happy I did it just because it has helped me grow as a sewist, and that is, I think, quite important. Now, the next make I want to talk about is another hacked chalk and notch aria blouse. Now, I loved the other iteration so much, and I had 1 meter of some Liberty fabric, some Liberty silk fabric at that, that was gifted to me by my sister cousin for my birthday last year. Now, I have been putting off making up this fabric because I just did not want to ruin it and because it was just 1 meter of it. So I needed to find a pattern that I would be able to squeeze out a make from using just this 1 meter. I decided to go with the hacked aria and I love it. I love everything about this make. The fabric is gorgeous to begin with. It was a little bit tricky to work with, but the end result is definitely worth it. Really, really worth it. I have worn this top several times since I have made it. Again, I have worn it to the office and I have worn it to church. And I feel like I'm definitely going to be making some more hacked aria tops for 2025. It's just that good. Now, my next 2 makes are the same pattern, and so I feel like I could talk about them both at the same time. I made up 2 iterations of the NH Patterns Riviera trousers. Now, I really stuck my foot into trouser making this year, and I finally was able to crack the code. And so I feel really excited about the prospects for 2025 so far as sewing trousers and shorts are concerned. Now, I made up 2 iterations of the Riviera trousers, and I love them both. My first iteration I made using a solid print cobalt, I think it was linen fabric from Minerva, and I just love them, you guys. I love them. I thought they could have been tweaked just a little bit more. They are a little hungry in the bum, and so I did do a couple more adjustments to my second iteration, which I made up using a large print gingham fabric in pinks and whites. And these trousers are bold and bodacious, and I love them. I really enjoyed constructing both of these trousers. I found the NH Patterns instructions to be quite easy to follow, very detailed, and I think they might be on offer for pay what you want. Now, NH Patterns was offering their patterns for pay as you go for Black Friday, and I have seen that she has extended this offer inevitably. At least it seems like it's going to be inevitably. So if you have never checked out NH Patterns, now would be the best time to run on over to their website. I do think she has some amazing patterns, and definitely the NH Riviera trousers are a must buy and a must make for 2025. Now, my next make is the Closet Core Jessica Blazer. I wanted a slow project, you guys. I feel like even though I don't necessarily think of myself as the fastest sewer, and I definitely don't have unlimited sewing time. I sew in chunks of time. Sometimes I only have 15 minutes to sew. Sometimes I can have up to 2 hours at any given time. But even if I have a short time to sew, I still sit at my machine and do something, or go to my cutting table and cut out something, or to my ironing board and press something. And I feel like all of that time really does add up. And so I wanted to challenge myself to a slow down project that would require me to really think about what I was doing and perhaps to broaden my perspectives and my skills. And the Closet Core Jessica Blazer did just that. Now, I made it up using an amazing linen fabric that I got again from Minerva in this scotch. I think it's called like Inky Blues or something like that. Remember, if you have forgotten, I am a Minerva ambassador, and if you use my Minerva code, I'll pop it here on screen, you can save yourself 10% off any Minerva fabric, any of their notions, or any of their kits. Now, this one is a must have. This printed linen fabric is amazing. I have seen so many great reviews about this fabric. Now, the Jessica Blazer really was a challenge, you guys. There are so many pattern pieces, the main pieces and the lining pieces, then the interfacing and the different types of interfacing. Oh, goodness gracious, you guys. Now, the construction of this jacket does use some speed tailoring techniques, and I actually did buy the Closet Core Jessica course when I purchased this blazer pattern years ago. I just have never utilized it, and I'm really, really, really glad that I decided to challenge myself to this blazer in 2024. Now, heads up for 2025, I'm definitely going to be using this pattern again. Blazers are usually on heavy rotation in my wardrobe because of my day job. I tend to use blazers quite a bit for the office and for court, and so I definitely want to go ahead and use this blazer pattern again for 2025. I just need to carve out some time that I can really slow down and tuck into this pattern. So it's not going to be one of my starter patterns because I just feel eager to get going with my sewing journey for 2025, but definitely watch this space in 2025 for this pattern. So if you're not yet subscribed to the channel, now would be a great time to hit that subscribe button and turn your notification bell on so you never miss any of my upcoming 2025 sewing videos. So the next make is actually the Sew Over It Ava skirt. And I made up this skirt using the leftover printed linen fabric from my Jessica Blazer. So I ended up with a cute, funky suit, and I have worn both of these pieces together to the office, and I have worn them separately, of course. I definitely intend to wear my Jessica Blazer to death, but I also have rocked the Ava skirt by itself. Now, I quite like the Ava skirt pattern, and I have made it up quite a few times over the course of my sewing journey. Now, the Sew Over It patterns, I feel like the sizing of some of their patterns doesn't really work very well with me. Maybe it's just their body block or whatever, but I do find that the Ava skirt fits me quite nicely. And so, as I've said, I have made it up quite a few times, with this printed linen one being my latest iteration of this skirt pattern. Now, next up, I want to talk to you guys about Simplicity 8889. Now, this is an old pattern, you guys. I remember picking up this pattern, I want to think like a year or two into my sewing journey. I had actually gone to Barbados, surprise, surprise, and I found this printed version in, what is the store called? I think it's called Didier's of Barbados. And I made it up once before, like years before, and I never got it to fit me quite right. And I don't think I had used the right fabric, and I just never sewed it again. No, I came to realize I needed to size down at least one size. And now that I am much more proficient with my sizing and my fitting and that sort of thing, I wanted to try this shirt pattern again. Now, I had received a sewing care box from my girl Bird of Yoga Bird Sews right here on YouTube. She had sent me a box with some patterns, two pieces of fabric, and a couple notions, and this Ankara fabric was one of them. And I decided to make up the Simplicity 8889. I think actually my girl Diana had encouraged me to try that pattern paired with this fabric, and it turned out gorgeous. Now, the shirt does mean that a lot more of my midsection is on display, and I really feel like I need to find a great fitting pair of high-waisted trousers to rock with this shirt. Now, I have worn it with my jeans, and again, I felt a little bit uncomfortable. You have heard me say it before, because my midsection was on display. Notwithstanding, I did end up wearing it for photographs, and I have worn it out once, I think once or twice. I think I've worn it once or twice out. It is constructed beautifully. I really did pay attention to my print placement. And so I think it is an amazingly made piece. It is one of my most thoughtful fabric placements for the year. I definitely did take some time to get it just right, and I was not disappointed. I feel like if I try the shirt pattern again, I'll probably go ahead and lengthen it a little bit more. I think I had lengthened it like an inch or so. Clearly, that was not enough. I think I'll probably want to lengthen it about another inch or two, and then maybe I can work it into more like rotation in my wardrobe if I were to do that. But again, Simplicity 8889 in this Ankara fabric, gifted to me by my girl Bird of Yoga Bird Sews. Now the next top is a Love Notions pattern. It is the Love Notions Harmony blouse, and I feel like this is a basic blouse. When I finished constructing it and I posted it on Instagram, I was like, okay, this is a basic blouse. Everybody's going to say it's a basic blouse, but I did not care either which way because I feel like sometimes basics are required in our wardrobes. I feel like I get carried away, or at least I have in the past gotten carried away with making like all of these fancy things that are just not really practical in my wardrobe. As I said before, I don't have much of a social life. I go to work, I go to church, and once in a while I might go out for ice cream with my kids or to dinner, but not nearly enough to be making all of like these fancy dresses. So basic blouses like the Love Notions Harmony are bound to get a lot more wear in my wardrobe, and wear this one did get. I have worn this one several times. Now, I actually sewed up this shirt as part of my Love Notions ambassador duties. In case you missed it, I am a Love Notions ambassador. If you use my ambassador code, which at the moment is BLK45, you can save yourself 10% off any Love Notion pattern. Now, depending on when you're watching this video, you might want to go ahead and check the description box because my code will change for the first quarter of 2025. So once it has changed, then I'll go ahead and update the description box to reflect my new code. So again, I made up the Harmony blouse as part of my Love Notions ambassador duties. I was actually showing a tutorial on the Love Notions channel featuring bias binding. Now that's kind of funny because I don't really love bias binding. I much prefer a facing over bias binding, and when and where possible, I will go ahead and hack my pattern to create my very own facing piece. Notwithstanding, I have picked up quite a few tips and tricks over the years working with bias binding because there are some projects that you just can't avoid it. And so I wanted to showcase those over on the Love Notions channel, and I'll leave the link down below in the description box in case you want some additional tips and tricks when working with bias binding. At the end of that project, I have gotten a very practical and really great blouse into my work wardrobe. And as an additional point, I did use a remnant piece of fabric that I have had in my stash for years. I used this fabric to make up my Queen of Hearts dress. It is a Vogue pattern. I can't remember the number right now. And it features some print mixing and some color blocking. And I love that dress. Again, it's not a practical make, but I love it. And I had this piece of red viscose left over, and I'm glad I was able to get it out of my stash and into my wardrobe for 2024. Now, my next make is actually the make that I'm wearing for today's video. This is the Love Notions Barrington tee, and it's made up using a knit fabric. Now, as I've told you previously, I have been really trying to stretch my sewing skills for 2024, and that included working with knit fabrics. Prior to 2024, I sort of have avoided knit fabrics. I just find them a little bit more tricky to work with, the different stretch percentages and all of that jazz, but I really wanted to get more acquainted with sewing knits in this year. And so I made up the Love Notions Barrington tee, and then I challenged myself to wear a very basic tee to the office. I actually wore it during Worktober here on YouTube. I did some shorts, and I also shared it over on Instagram, and I rocked this t-shirt with the Bleer skirt by True Bias. Now, I feel like I need to make a couple more of these Barrington tees. They really, really are quite easy and simple to make. And I feel like if I can get my hands on some funky knit fabrics, then I can have some funky t-shirts in my wardrobe. So that is definitely one of the goals for 2025, to continue expanding my knowledge on working with knit fabrics and with sewing up some more of my tried and true patterns. And I feel like the Love Notions Barrington tee is bound to be one of my tried and true t-shirt patterns for knits because it really is very simple, easy to fit, easy to sew. Definitely a winner in my book for 2024. Next up, I'm going to listen. I feel like this year has been the year of repeats. So I made up Simplicity 9679. Is that the number? Yeah, 9679. It is that not that off the shoulder, this cutout Simplicity top. I'll go ahead and leave the line drawing right here. And I love this pattern. I made it up twice, almost back to back. I made the first iteration using an animal print rib knit that I had in my stash, and I loved it, but I feel like I could have tweaked it a little bit more in terms of the fit. Again, one of the things with working with knit fabrics, they don't all have the same kind of stretch, and so you might have to size up or size down accordingly. Now, for this rib knit, I probably should have sized down a size or two. I was able to go back in after the fact and nip in the side seams quite a bit, but I was not able to make that adjustment to the neckline area. And so I went back in after I had constructed my first version, made a couple of tweaks to my pattern, and then cut out a second version in this fabric right here. So this t-shirt is actually made up using the leftovers of the fabric. Now, this fabric was actually bought for me by my dad. Listen, he's never bought me fabric before, and this year he has bought me 2 pieces of fabric. And it just turned out that he bought me 2 pieces of knit fabric. Hello! Notwithstanding, I felt like I needed to use at least one of them, and I did. The other one is still sitting pretty in my stash. Maybe she'll get sewn up for 2025. But as I said, I made up a second iteration of Simplicity 9679 using this fabric. Now, this one is a little bit more stable than the rib knit fabric, and it fits quite a bit better in my opinion around the neckline. It doesn't fall off my shoulder as the first one does. And I also created a little split in the side seam at the hemline in this second iteration. Now, I forgot to mention that this pattern is actually a top pattern, and I hacked it because I thought I would like it more if I made it into a dress, and I do like it. But I think I'm going to actually turn around and make it as a top for 2025 because I really love that cutout detail. I feel like it's sexy without exposing too much. And so that means I can get away with wearing it to work. So I definitely want to find a great piece of knit fabric to make up Simplicity 9679 again for 2025. But perhaps next time I will make it up as intended as a top. Now, I have shared more details on the making of both of these dresses here on the channel. I'll drop the thumbnail in right here and you can run on over and get the scoop in that video. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is another dress, and it is McCall's 7920. This is hands down one of my most favorite patterns. I've only made it twice, you guys, but I love this pattern and I feel like I need to make it a lot more. Now, the first time I made this pattern, I used a large striped fabric that had been trending at the time. I think it had been from Joanne Fabric. This rainbow striped fabric, everybody over on Instagram was sewing up a piece of this fabric. And I made up my McCall's 7920 in that fabric. Now, earlier this year, I was doing a closet clean out. And when I was talking about this dress, I discovered that I had a big old hole in the armpit, and it had eaten into the seam allowance of this dress. And I didn't think I could fix it. In addition to that, I have gained just a little bit more weight around my tummy area. And so even when I was wearing my dress, it was a little bit more snug than I cared to admit, but I was rocking it anyway because I really, really like how flattering the silhouette is on me. And so I challenged myself to remake this dress, but I did actually tweak the pattern a little bit to add some more unique touches. Now, I made it up using another linen fabric. It is a black and white linen that I got from Mood Fabrics, and I actually made it as part of the Whole 30 Fabrics Challenge by Pink Mimosa by Jacinta. Now, because I was using it for that fabric challenge, I wanted to use as much of the fabric as possible, and I ended up creating a small gathered ruffle right around the hemline for this dress. I freaking love this dress, you guys. I love it. I feel like $1,000,000 every time I have put it on. Now, I put some buttons on it. I did not have enough buttons in my stash. I think I needed 10 and I only had 8. So the last 2 buttonholes have no buttons. And so for 2025, I really want to discover Like, I really need to find a great button source. So I'm appealing to you, if you're watching this video and you know of a great online button source, please, please, please share it with me. I have bought buttons previously from Mood Fabrics. They do have some nice ones, but they are pricey, you guys. Really, really expensive. So I'm looking to see if I can find some other button sources, because I feel like I make a lot of button downs, you guys. And usually the case is I don't have the right buttons in my stash. No, I wear this dress as is with the 8 buttons on it, but when I find the perfect buttons, I am going to remove the ones that are currently on it and replace them. But for now, I'm going to wear this dress to death, probably until I end up with another hole in my armpit. It really is that good. Definitely one that I want to remake for 2025. It's gorgeous. It really, really is. Now, my next make was actually an upcycle. I think it's probably my first and last upcycle for 2024. Now, I was participating in the Sew Upcycle Challenge. I think it was in October, and I ended up hacking a maternity nightie that has been in my stash for the last 8 years. My daughter is 8 now. And I got that maternity nightie from my auntie when I was pregnant, like big pregnant. And clearly it meant that I've not worn it since that pregnancy. And even when I became pregnant with my second child, it never occurred to me to go and dig out that nightie. But when I saw this challenge, I knew I wanted to upcycle this nightie. And I went with a pretty easy upcycle. I chopped it off into a blouse, added some shirring at the waistline to create some definition, and voila, I had myself a blouse pattern. Now, truth be told, I thought I would have worn it a lot more since I have upcycled it, but I have not. It still has not gotten a lot of wear, and I don't know why. The colors are in my color palette. It's gray and white, but there's just something about it. I don't know why I'm not gravitating to it. I think it has a nice neckline, and I wanted to preserve my neckline for that hack. So I really have no explanation at all for why I have not been reaching for this blouse. I'm going to go ahead and see if I can find a picture. I think I took some pictures for this Sew Upcycle challenge. If I did, I'll pop it here on screen and I'll let you be the judge. But if you want to hear more details on the upcycle, on the challenge, and my thoughts on it, then head on over to this video right here. Now, the next thing I want to talk to you guys about is another two-piecer, and it is Simplicity S3010, that Mimi G pattern that everybody and their mama has been raving about. Now, I made up my 3010, I think in October, and I made it up using a gorgeous black and white fabric. Who is surprised? Like, who? I love color, you guys, but there is just something about a black and white fabric that calls my name, like really, really loudly. And I made up the 3010 using that fabric, and I love it. I have a full review of this make here on the channel. I did go ahead and do my pattern adjustments to this pattern, including doing a full bust adjustment. Now, I know a lot of people shy away from a full bust adjustment, and probably when you're making knit fabrics, even more so. You're like, what's the point of a full bust adjustment in a knit fabric? But I am not sorry that I took the time to do the full bust adjustment in this pattern, because I feel like the fit is spot on. I've seen a couple reviews of this make, and some people have pointed out that the fit of the tank is not flush to their body. And in my mind, it's because it needs a full bust adjustment if you have a cup size larger than a B cup, so that you don't get this awkward pulling right here at the arm side. All right, we have made it to make number 60. For make number 60, I ended up making the itch to stitch bomber jacket. Now, I actually wanted to make up this bomber jacket as part of the Black Sewing Network Turns 2 challenge over on Instagram. Now, I really love Black Sewing Network. Obviously, I'm a black girl, and I feel like this network is necessary in the sewing community. I feel like sometimes us black girls get lost on these social media platforms, and so I really do love the work of the Black Sewing Network, and so I wanted to participate in their Black Sewing Network Turns 2 challenge. And I chose the Itch to Stitch bomber jacket because I had a bomber jacket on my Make 9 board, and for my Make 9 board I wanted to utilize all indie patterns that I have never sewn. And I bought the Itch to Stitch Causeway Bomber because it has bust cup options, meaning one less pattern adjustment for your girl. Now, I was able to construct both the main side and the inside of my bomber jacket. This pattern can be reversible, and I made it reversible, but I was not able to get my hands on a reversible zipper in time to enter my bomber jacket into the challenge. Wonk, wonk, wonk. One of the drawbacks of small island living, it means that I cannot always get my hands on the fabrics or notions that I want in short order. And ordering anything online takes a year and a day to get here, and these zippers were no exception. They took forever to get here. By the time I got my hands on them and was able to finish my bomber, the challenge had long closed. Notwithstanding, I love this bomber. I shared it here on the channel already as part of my roundup on my Make 9 board. I'll pop the link into that video right here in case you want to go ahead and check out how well I did on my Make 9 board for 2024. And so many of you left me comments about this bomber jacket, saying you loved it, it was one of your favorites. And to be honest, it's one of my favorites as well. And I love that it is reversible. I love that I utilized not one, not two, not three, but 4 different black and white fabrics. 2 of them were black and white fabrics in 2 different colorways. Now, let me help you make that make sense. So one is a black on white fabric and the other one is white on black fabric, but they are the exact same print and the exact same fabric substrate. So I utilized that for the main side of my causeway bomber, and then for the inside of my causeway bomber, or the reversible side, I used an Ankara fabric left over from making the petite dressmaker Delphina dress. And then for my rib knit, I actually utilized a piece of rib knit fabric that I ended up making the Love Notions Arlington dress. Now, I wanted to save the Arlington dress for further on in this video, but I may as well tell you about it now. It has been one of my last makes for 2024. I have made up the Love Notions Arlington dress, and I have made it up because I am anticipating that there is going to be a Love Notions sale in early January. And I really want to be able to showcase this dress as the newest addition to my Love Notions wardrobe. So make sure you keep your eyes on this space. Make sure you keep your eyes open on Instagram so you can get all of the details of that sale once it goes live. Now, I do not have any pictures in this dress, so I'm just going to go ahead and grab it off of my rack so I can share just a little bit of a sneak peek of this dress with you. Now, the Love Notions Arlington is actually a sweater dress, you guys. And you probably think, if you're in the Caribbean, what are you doing with the sweater dress? But I made it up using this black and white rib knit fabric. And you guys, I love this stripe. I also have a thing about stripes, you guys. I love a good striped fabric. And this one, the stripes are not all the same width. And I feel like that adds just so much more dimension to this make. Now, I made up the Arlington and I made it as a dress with the puffy sleeve option, and I made the, is this the mock neck? I think this might be the mock neck option. I love this dress, you guys, and I really took my time to get the pattern matching down the side seams. There is a center back seam, and it is also pattern matched down the center back. Tell me where the seam is, you guys. Go ahead and try and point it out. There is a seam down my center back, and I'm really, really proud with how well I was able to construct this dress, especially since it is using a rib knit fabric. I did have to tweak the fit of this dress just a little bit after I had made it. I did share some of this make with you during Vlogmas Day. I want to say it's day 23. And when I tried it on, it was just too loose around the side seam. Again, because I am so unfamiliar with knit fabrics, I feel like I need to pay better attention to the stretch percentages and then try to make a determination about size after I have thought a lot about the stretch content. And so I went ahead and nicked in the sides quite considerably, I think. I think I probably took off like an inch or so from the side seams. And I also went ahead and took off maybe an inch and a half at the hemline, just so I can peg the hem of the dress just a little bit more. You guys, I love this pattern. If you do not have the Love Notions Arlington in your pattern stash, then keep your eyes open for the sale. Use my ambassador code and add the Love Notions Arlington to your pattern stash and then sew it up. You will not regret it. Trust me. Talking about Love Notions, my next make is the Love Notions Piano Forte Jumper. I made it up using a denim fabric, and I actually have a sew along here on the channel featuring this pattern where I show you guys an alternative to the burrito method. Because I was using this denim fabric, and denim fabric can be quite bulky, and the straps of the Piano Forte are fairly narrow. And so I figured it would be a great opportunity to show you guys that we can finish off an all-in-one facing in an alternative way other than the burrito method. So if you are curious on how you can finish an all-in-one facing without the burrito method, even if it's not on the Love Notions Piano Forte, then be sure to go ahead and check out this video right here. Up next is the Pattern Scout Birch Vest. Now I was invited by my girl T of Crumpets Tea and Sewing right here on YouTube and over on Instagram to be one of the collaborators for her challenge, the Sew the Trends challenge that she was hosting in the month of December. Now as a collaborator, we were encouraged to spread the news about the challenge, and I made up the birch vest in response to my collaborator duties. Now I made up this vest back in November, and I do have a video right here on the channel. You can run on over and check it out right here, and you can get all of the details on this birch vest. Now I had some leftover of the linen fabric, that cobalt fabric that I had made up the NH Riviera trousers from, and I decided to utilize it to make up this vest. That way I could have a matching set for my work wardrobe. And I love this set. I ended up using some gold buttons right down the front of my birch vest, and I think that that really just elevates this vest. I really, really like this one. Vests have definitely been trending for 2024. They have been popping up everywhere. Everywhere. And I liked that the birch vest had the cup sizes, which meant that I did not have to do a full bust adjustment. I did go ahead and make some fitting adjustments as usual, and overall I'm happy with the fit and the wear of the Pattern Scout birch vest. Now let's head back to dresses. I want to talk to you guys about the chalk and notch orchid midi dress. Now the orchid midi dress is a dress pattern that I have had in my stash for years. I actually made up the chalk and notch orchid midi way back when, you guys, way back when, before I knew anything about fabric and pattern pairing. And I made it up using this stiff kind of fabric in an awful color. And whereas I wore that dress proudly back then, I figured out later on in my sewing journey that perhaps I had not utilized the right fabric. It sort of gave me a scrub kind of effect because of the fabric color and its feel. So I went ahead and challenged myself to remake the orchid midi dress, and this time I love this dress. In fact, I was wearing this dress in part one of this video series. So if you thought it was a blouse, it was not. It's actually the chalk and notch orchid midi dress. I find this dress silhouette to be super, super flattering. I did go ahead and shorten the bodice quite a bit. I think it is designed to have a blouse over look, but I do have a short waist. And so I think I accomplished the blouse over look without it being super baggy at my waistline. So I feel like it gives me a nice shaping. I made it up using some pink and red fabric I had in my stash. And again, this was one of the other makes for the Whole 30 Fabrics Challenge. I was working on a red and pink collection, and I was able to make up this dress for that collection. Now I did hack this dress slightly by raising the split up the center front, but once I had finished making it, I felt like I should have raised it a little bit more. Now your girl loves me a good leg moment. My legs are one of my best assets, and even though I love the dress as is, I low-key feel like I should have raised it a little bit more. Now the next make I want to share with you is actually a sewing fail, you guys. I did a hack of the Love Notions Melody Dolman again for the Whole 30 Fabrics Challenge. I was also working on a black and white collection, and this shirt was meant to be one of the separate pieces in that collection, but I have not finished it. It's actually hanging right over here on my rack, so I'm just going to go ahead and grab it so I can show you this flop. Right, so this is my Love Notions Melody Dolman hat, and it was meant to be serious in the front and then a party in the back, you guys. And so I hacked the back of this pattern. I wanted to add this like strapping detail across the back, but I don't know if it's my fabric choice Or maybe it's because I did not go ahead and cut my strap pieces on the bias. I was being lazy. And so they don't drape nicely. They kind of look very stiff. And in addition to that, because this pattern has a back yoke, I didn't tweak it when I hacked the pattern. And so when I put this on, my back yoke sort of flaps outwards. You know, like when you have the storm flap on a trench coat, it sort of flaps upwards. That's the kind of vibe that this was giving me. And I was just discouraged from finishing this top. Now, when I started making it, I was really, really excited. And I took the time to add some piping to my collar. I thought that the white piping on an otherwise plain black shirt would help to up the ante just a little bit on this shirt. And the rest of it is pretty well constructed. I put the pocket on, but I just haven't finished it. It still needs the sleeve band on it, and then working out the placement at the back. And to be honest, I'm not sure I'm ever going to finish this make. I feel like this is just one of those makes that I'm just going to strike up as a complete failure. Did I learn some lessons from this make? Yes, I did. But yeah, the Love Notions Melody Dolman hack, not my first, but the first sewing fail that I am sharing with you guys here on my Sewing Makes review. Now, since we're talking about sewing fails, I may as well talk to you guys about my Fiber Mood Chloe hack that is also a sewing fail. I decided I wanted to hack the Fiber Mood Chloe, and I wanted to create that kind of cutout effect from my Mood Clementine dress. I thought that maybe if I paired both of those makes together, then it would result in a cute and sexy dress that I would be fairly comfortable wearing out. But you guys, I was wrong. The Fiber Mood Chloe top just did not fit me right. And I just don't like how it's looking. And so I never finished it. Now, I had already cut up my double gauze fabric because I intended to create a tiered skirt for my dress. And so I did not have enough double gauze on hand to recut a bodice of any sort. But I have since managed to source another yard of this double gauze in this red color. And so I think I'm going to remove the bodice from the skirt of this hack and figure out a different bodice that I can pair with it, and then go ahead and attach all of the gathered tiers that I have already cut out. So this is how far I had gotten on this hack. And I utilized the fabric I had in my chalk and notch midi dress, and I used that for the shoulder band. But you guys, I did not have enough fabric, and I don't think I cut one side of the shoulder strap. Something is wrong with it. It just doesn't fit me quite nicely at all. And when I try to take it in, it means that the arm side comes up way too high under my armhole, and it's just very uncomfortable. Now, it does have the hack at the side here, like the Mood Clementine, but instead of having like the entire, is it like the front section open or whatever, it does have just two cutouts on either side. And because the top doesn't fit well, the side seam ends up too long, and so you can't really tell that there's a cutout. And if I pull it down, it means that the skirt sits too low. I just don't like it, you guys. And I spent so much time working on this elastic casing detail, which I had picked up from working on the Clementine dress. This red is my red, you guys. This is the perfect shade of red for your girl. So I didn't want to completely abandon the project, but I cannot promise you that it's going to be something I will assign any priority to. So I want to do it, but whenever it gets done, it gets done. Now, next up is the Sew Over It Nime skirt hack. I'm pretty sure I'm not pronouncing the pattern name correctly, but it is this pattern right here by Sew Over It London. And I have made up the skirt pattern before, and I found it to be quite flattering. Even though it has like the yoke around the tummy area, it doesn't overly accentuate like the roundness of my tummy. And I utilized this skirt pattern to hack as part of my secret Christmas sewing challenge. Now, if you missed it, where have you been? Have you been under a rock? I have a full video here on the channel showcasing the work of 18 amazing sewists from over on Instagram. Let me tell you guys, If you watch that video, you will not be disappointed. Now, the purpose of this challenge was to have like a secret Santa kind of vibe. So I selected 18 stories from over on Instagram. Well, I didn't select because they actually had to agree to this challenge. And they agreed to participate, and each sewist was anonymously paired up with another sewist, and they had to create a mood board based on that sewist's social media platforms. So the aesthetic that they picked up from their Instagram platform, from their TikTok, from their YouTube, wherever they are on social media, the Secret Santa was encouraged to sort of snoop around and to create a mood board that would reflect that sewist's aesthetic. And I wasn't meant to play along. I was just hosting the challenge because clearly I would know who created whose mood board. But one of the sewists, Amy from Almond Rock Sews over on Instagram, actually got one of her colleagues to make a mood board for me. Now, the aesthetic that I was picking up from my mood board was lots of print mixing and color blocking. And I wanted to utilize only remnant fabrics from my stash to make up this skirt. And I came up with a fun and flirty mini skirt, really different from anything else I have made all year. And it's not a very practical make. It's not something that I could wear to church. It's not something that I can wear to I definitely cannot wear to the office. But it was definitely a test of my creativity, and I was happy that I was able to play along. So if you want more details and you want to check out all of the reveals from the challenge, then head on over to this video right here. Now we have gotten to make number 68, and it is the Love Notions lyric hack that I did as part of the Love Notions Secret Sewist event. Now, Love Notions also hosted a Secret Santa type event. It was a little bit different. Well, actually, it was quite a lot different to my Secret Sewist, in that the Love Notions ambassadors had to suggest a specific fabric and pattern pairing that they wanted their Secret Santa to sew up. Obviously, all of the patterns were Love Notions patterns because it was an ambassador secret sewist. And my secret sewist suggested the lyric top and a gorgeous striped challis from Mood. Now, the striped challis actually had a double border print, and it was a gorgeous fabric in gorgeous colors, perfect for your girl, but it was a beast, I tell you, to sew up. Now, I wanted to utilize the border print in a fun way, and so I went ahead and hacked the lyric so that it could fit, I think, more neatly into the double border print that the fabric had. Now, in the end, I was really, really happy with my final look. You can head on over to the Love Notions channel. I'll leave the link down below in the description box and check out all of the Secret Santa reveals as well. This hack is definitely one of my favorite hacks for the year. I have put off making the Love Notions lyric for way too long. I don't even know why. I love shirt dresses, and I didn't end up making this as a shirt dress, even though it is originally a shirt dress pattern. I ended up using an invisible zipper to close it in the back, and that is again because I wanted the border print to shine. So this is definitely one of my most favorite hacks for 2024. Now, next up, I want to talk about Macaw's 7969, the holy grail of dress patterns in the sewing community. Every single sewist has made this dress or top at least once. And I made this pattern previously, twice before actually, as dresses. And then I made it up this year during a Instagram live sewing session with my girl Diana of 26 by Diana. Now, I used the leftover fabric from the lining of my Jessica blazer to make up this blouse. Now, because I was using leftover fabric, it means that the peplum part of my top is shorter than what I anticipated, but it was all I had left over. But I actually quite like the length of this finished top. I am short-waisted, and I feel like it is super, super flattering. Now, I have worn this top out as recently as during Vlogmas. You might have caught it, I think, one of the days where we went to the school's concert. I was wearing this top with some black jeans, and it was cute. I was sexy, and I'm definitely going to make 7969 again. If you have never made this pattern, as a matter of fact, I don't think there's anybody who has never made this pattern. But on the off chance that you have not made this pattern, then it is definitely one that you need in your pattern stash and in your wardrobe. So go ahead and pick up that pattern and then you can thank me later. Now, the next make I want to share with you is the Liberty of London Esther tunic. Now, I made up the Esther tunic as a Minerva ambassador. Minerva does have kits available on their platform, and they sent me the Esther tunic from one of their kits. Now, the fabric that came with my Esther tunic is not the fabric that I had picked out. There was a glitch and I was sent a different fabric from the one I had selected, and I just decided to go ahead and work with it. Minerva did offer to send me the fabric that I had chosen, but given where I live, I knew it would take a year and a day to get here, and I was just eager to get into making up this blouse. So I made it up using the fabric that they sent me, and I was quite surprised actually with how much I ended up loving this top. Now, whilst I was working on it, I was second guessing it a little bit. I thought, maybe it would swallow me up, maybe it's not going to be flattering because of the shape of the blouse, but I really, really like it. Now, I made it up using the viscose fabric, and I feel like it has been washed a couple of times and it has started to wear right at the v-neck. It's one of those v-necks that you have to sew the stitching line and then cut right up to the stitching line, but not through it, and then attach the lining piece. And so it has started to fray right there at my V line. And it's disappointing, you guys, because it's a really, really nice shirt, and it's not one that I'll be able to fix. I don't think I can go back in and fix it because of how the rest of the blouse is constructed. And I feel like I want to remake this pattern, but I want to figure out how to do it without the snip right the way up to the seam line, because inevitably if I make this pattern again, I want to make it in a drapey fabric, and viscose challis is one of my most favorite fabrics to work with. Well, not to work with, I like the outcome of working with viscose challis. Perhaps that's more accurate explanation. And I don't want this to happen to me again. I don't want to have to wash it a couple times and then not be able to wear my blouse. So I do like this make, but I'm going to have to retire her because of this wear and tear. And it has not even been a full year of wearing it. So that's a little bit disappointing, but I did enjoy it while it lasts. Now, the last two makes I want to share with you on my list are both incomplete. Incomplete because I'm waiting on buttons, you guys. My girl Diana actually went ahead and picked me up some buttons over there in Miami, but I'm waiting for them to get to me here on the island. They have not gotten here yet, and so these two makes are unfinished for that reason and that reason only. Now, the first one I want to talk about is McCall's 7906, my most favorite skirt pattern of all time. I have made this skirt pattern, I think, 3 times before, or is it twice before and this is my third time? It might have been twice before and this is my third time. The other 2 iterations have been worn to death. One iteration has died and I have had to bury it because it got caught on a nail, you guys, and ripped the entire front section of my skirt. The second one is a black one and I wear it all the time. All the time, I'm telling you, all the time to the office. It's really, really flattering on me. I love it. So because I had to bury one of my versions, I went ahead and remade this pattern, and I feel like I need 2 or 3 more versions in my wardrobe for 2025 easily. Now, this one is made up in, what do you know, another black and white fabric from Mood, and it is gorgeous. It is a zebra print fabric, and I love everything about this fabric, you guys. Everything. And I just need to get the buttons on it, and then I can finally rock this skirt for 2025. Please, buttons, please, please hurry up and get here. Now, the very last item is Vogue 9182 in this gorgeous fabric right here. It's lime green and like turquoise. I got this fabric from Mood, and this one is also waiting buttons. Now, I made up this pattern years ago in an orange fabric. I find it to be super flattering. It fits well, and I wanted another one in my wardrobe, and so I decided to make it up in this gorgeous fabric right here. And as soon as I get my hands on these buttons, then this one is definitely going to be on heavy rotation in my wardrobe. Now, you guys, those are all of the patterns on my list. I'm back. You guys, once again, I got cut off. My camera battery died. I really have to do better. I'm going to need to go ahead and order myself a backup battery so that when my camera battery does die, then I can just switch it out and keep on filming. Anyways, what I was saying is those were all of the things that I made in 2024. Actually, there's one more make. And I am going to be sharing on the channel a full video featuring this make because it is actually a selfless sew. I made my husband a pair of True Bias Hudson trousers and we did film some content, and I have been waiting for the last like 2 months for him to get back on camera to show you guys what the finished garment looks like. And that is why it has been delayed since I think October, but it's coming and I need to share it with you guys because it was hilarious. That's number one. And two, because it features something that I made for somebody else and not for myself. And I think that is just a little bit different from the content that I usually share with you guys here on my platform. Anyways, 72 garments, well, 73 if we count the item that I just told you about, in the bag for 2024. And it could have been 74 garments because I did start another project, but I did not finish it in time. So I'm just going to shh for right now, and I'll be back again to share with you guys my last make of 2024 slash my first make of 2025 sometime soon. Anyways, if you have made it to the end of this video, thank you so much for watching. I know this one has been a mouthful, and the one before this one, actually the one before this one, because the last one was featuring my fabric roulette, which is a new sewing challenge for 2025. If you missed it, check out the video right here. And if you missed part one of this video series, then hop back 2 videos and get yourself all caught up. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you so much for keeping up with my videos in 2024. I really enjoyed your presence here, and I'm looking forward to deeper connections and more growth in the sewing arena for 2025. So until next time, you guys, stay calm, stay cool, stay safe, and thank you so much for keeping up with my YouTube channel. Peace.